angels, queens and babies, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma-Rose-Hamilton, this is
James,
and welcome back to the Tranquil Vibe Travel channel. So today we're doing something a little bit different. We've now been in Australia for 5 months on a work holiday visa.
this feels weird, we haven't done this in a while.
What, sit down? I know, it feels kind of strange, I feel very formal.
When's in base?
Base was the last time we did this, which was the last time we were on Magnetic Island.
Yeah, so we're talking 2.5, 3 months.
Since we've done a sit down video. Anyways everybody, we have been in Australia for 5 months now, so we thought, you know, we've picked up a couple of tips and tricks. We're at the point where we're kind of reflecting on our process.
Yeah, we've realised a few things that we probably should have
done, things we've done wrong, things we could have done better, good ideas. So we thought if you are wanting to get to Australia on a work holiday visa, this is the video for you, and we'll kind of take you through the process of how to get the visa and how to get to Australia, and maybe a little bit about what to do when you're here.
Yeah, these are just tips.
Tips and tricks. Obviously it's not like the way to do things.
It could well be that it's bad advice, but it's our advice.
It's just our personal experience. So if you want to get to Australia on a working holiday visa, SUBCLASS 417,
yeah,
stick around. Luckily for you, I kept a little book of everything we did.
Does it still smell? No, not quite as bad.
It was like
still a bit of a
fishy,
smell,
wasn't it? We decided in second year uni, so this would have been 2019, second year of uni, that we wanted to go travelling. We didn't actually do anything to build towards this until we finished uni in 2020, which was the plan to save for a year and head off.
Yeah.
Obviously that becomes a bit more difficult with COVID and whatever. So we actually decided we were going to save for a year. We ended up saving for a year. Well, we ended up being at home for a year and a half because of COVID. We had already saved our money by that point. So the first thing we did on the 27th of November 2021 was applied for our visas. At this point you were not allowed to travel still. There's going to be some like COVID context which will not apply or may not apply to you, but this was our experience. So things we needed for the visa were passport, extra ID, but that's optional, proof of funds, which you need 5,000 Australian dollars.
Part of the application was, it said, please submit a second form of identification. I don't think you didn't need it, but we thought it might help the visa processing time, because it said online that it could 90% of people would hear back in 4 months. So we were like, we want to make sure everything's as
easy,
bang on as possible. Filled out every optional question, like added every optional
little
extra
detail,
just so that we could make sure that we got it back as quick as possible.
Yeah.
It was an optional step to submit a second form of ID, so we submitted our driving license.
Yeah, just our driving licenses along with our passport.
And it was all just pictures. It wasn't, you didn't have to professionally scan it in or anything. You just took a good picture so that it was clear, and then upload that. Proof of funds. When we checked it, it needed to be around
5,000.
But it's around 2,700, and anywhere between sort of £2,500 and £3,000
is your proof of funds,
and you
have to give them bank statements to show that, don't you?
Yeah, you have to give them bank statements, like a most recent bank statement to show that. I guess part of that is to make sure that you haven't just sort of received a transaction from someone for that money, because then they'll expect obviously that money to disappear. So if you are going to try and do that, then get whoever's lending you the money to do it a bit before, so that it's in your bank account solidly by the time that you submit your visa application.
Yeah. We applied in November with wanting to go around February time, but we knew it could take up to like 1 to 6 months for this to be done, so we thought we'll get it in early. So when you apply for the visa, when it gets accepted, you have a year to get into the country. So we knew, we were like, hopefully the world will be back to normal by November 2022.
So it said 90% in 4 months, and we got it back
the same day.
In half an hour.
We got it back on the same day, literally. And wasn't loads of stuff like, do you have a criminal record? No. Do you have this? No. I've put here, form filling, actually super easy. It's just like your name, your address, how old are you, marital status.
Yeah, because the thing is, all they really need to check is, are you the right age for the visa?
And you're not going to come and you're not going to come and play havoc.
Yeah, obviously they're gonna check a bit stronger if you've got a criminal record and stuff like that, but if you're 100% clear, then
you're pretty much fine. So far, it has cost 500 Australian dollars for the visa. That's how much it costs to apply for a visa. At the time, that was about £271 for us. You just need to convert that, so that was about 270 quid for us.
Yeah, and make sure you fill out all your forms correctly, because you pay that amount regardless of whether your visa is accepted or not. Your visa could get denied and you've still paid that amount. Like, you then have to pay again.
So just do that nice and slowly, thoroughly. So far we had spent £270 on the actual visa, and we had to have 5,000 Australian dollars proof of funds, so that would, let's round it up to about £3,000 plus 200 for the visa so far, or 300 for the visa.
Oh yeah, so you need around about £3,000 at this point in the process.
Yes. On the same day that we submitted an online form to the doctors for vaccinations, this was just to make sure that we were up to date with our vaccines and if we needed anything to get into the country. Yeah,
basically it's a form where it'll ask you all the places you're going, you submit that, and then someone's supposed to contact you back and say, hi, you need to come in and have this, this and this vaccine.
I would recommend doing this as soon as you know you're going travelling.
Yes.
Because we had some trouble with them. So on the 27th, when the visa was accepted, we then rang the doctors. Well, we filled in this form online and said that we were meant to hear something back. We then waited till the 16th of December, which is actually when we booked the flights, but we'll come back to that.
So it's like 3 weeks we waited to hear back, and we still haven't heard back because obviously they've got a lot on their minds.
Yeah, so we rang them and we got an appointment for the 6th of January. However, we got told off when we got there. She was like, you've left this too late. To be fair, which is not very nice, I'm not gonna lie. We were told we'd left it too late, so we would recommend doing this probably as soon as you know you're going travelling.
I think it's good to get in early, because then they'll get back to you and say,
we need to order this in.
We need to, yeah, or they'll say, oh, this one's only good for a year, so you don't need to get that until just beforehand.
Yeah, so an example of that is we were offered a rabies jab, but it only lasts for about 3 years, and touch wood, we're not really going to be anywhere in the next 2-3 years where we could get
Bali.
Oh, maybe we'll get that then soon.
Yeah, we'll get it whilst we're in Australia.
Yeah, but
rabies is private, you have to pay for it. It's not
£160.
provided on the NHS. What was it, like £53 per dose, and you've got to have 3 jabs. So you've got to get that earlier. So that's if you're going to Thailand or Vietnam or like Bali or the Philippines first, you need to get a rabies vaccine.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, but it is highly recommended, because the treatment for rabies is far more unpleasant than the vaccination.
For our tip to do with vaccinations, we would recommend as soon as you know you're going travelling, maybe once you've booked the flight, go and like submit this form, keep on to the doctors, because sometimes they need time to get the vaccines in.
We did it when we booked our flight, and that was too late.
Oh.
So that's bad advice.
Bad advice. Do it as soon as you know you want to go travelling.
I would say give it 6 to 4 months before start thinking about your vaccinations, because when you submit the form you tell them when they're going, so they know then
how long
before you need, because the problem is there is some vaccinations where you need to get a jab and then you've got 6 to 8 weeks or
before you need the second
there was another one that you got that you're supposed to get one like 6 months later.
Yes.
Get it done now.
Just get your vaccines.
Some of them are good for 10 years, so just get them done now.
Do you know, just go to the doctor and say, hey, what do I need? Can I just have it now? And then you'll be sorted. I think that's
some of your tetanuses and stuff like that.
Just get it. Just get them all, and then it's easy. Because we had to get one in each arm, and that was a really bad experience for us. Anyways, let's move on. Sorry if I keep looking down. I'm referring to the book.
Honestly, still check as well whether or not you need COVID boosters or anything like that.
Some places might not let you in unless you're triple vaxxed.
For Australia especially,
we had to be triple vaxxed to get in.
Double.
Is it
but
not
we
triple?
just were triple.
Oh, okay,
because nowhere in Australia was double
vaxxed
by the time we arrived, and we were triple vaxxed. And
we felt it was a pretty big flex.
Oh yeah.
We were like,
people were amazed when we were, because
we were showing them on our phone like
they were still vaccine passporting here, so we were showing them on our phone, and everyone was amazed that we had 3.
Yeah, we were like, which one do you want to see? 1, 2 or 3? And they're like, what? Anyways.
So yeah, just make sure that I don't think there really is much in the way of COVID restrictions in Australia nowadays. Certainly not between states, but...
So, on the 16th of December 2021, we booked our flights. We booked with Emirates. It was a one-stop flight. We did Manchester to Dubai and then Dubai to Perth. That is the flights that we booked for, I think it was the 20th of February, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the 20th of Feb we originally were flying.
So then on the 20th of January 2022, Western Australia announced that they were not opening. We obviously panicked, so we got on to Emirates and requested to change the flight. We thought this would be cheaper than cancelling.
Yeah, we booked on sort of a flexible rate, but you still paid an amount to cancel the flights.
And we thought,
but,
oh, we didn't say how much the flights were.
It's worth checking on flexibility anyways, because
you never know.
You never know.
So we paid £1,450 for flights, which was £725 each. That's quite cheap. We actually had to get the flight shifted to Melbourne. We just rang up Emirates to do this. Super helpful. It was £17 for both of us. We paid £8 to change the flight from Perth to Melbourne. So that was a super simple, easy process. On the 22nd of January 2022, we booked an Airbnb for a month stay in Melbourne CBD. Obviously, you don't need to do this. Our point of doing this was, at the time of COVID, you had to have proof of accommodation for at least 2 weeks in case you needed to isolate on arrival.
Yeah.
This probably won't be a thing anymore, but we would recommend getting at least 2 weeks accommodation sorted just to kind of get settled in. You know, like you've got somewhere to go.
Yeah, it really worked for us having...
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're the kind of person who's quite happy to just rock up and move about, do that, but like for us, we liked having a couple of weeks to sort of settle in, adapt to the temperature a bit.
Yeah.
Sort of like you've got to remember you are landing in a country on the opposite side of the world for the first time. It is nice to just sort of have a base to settle into.
So we'd say at least
and
2
recover
weeks.
at the very minimum, like 4 or 5 days, so that you can recover from jet lag, because jet lag is rough.
Very rough.
The first sort of 2-3 days are awful. Book a private space for whilst you're recovering from jet lag. The last thing you want is to be in a hostel dorm with other people whilst you're trying to get to sleep at about 8 PM because you're absolutely shattered and waking up at 2 AM.
2 AM and having a cup of tea.
With other people in the room with you.
So we actually paid £1,432 for our Airbnb for the month, which is quite expensive.
Very, very expensive for a month's accommodation, but
it was worth it.
It was the peace of mind.
Yeah, and because of the whole COVID thing, like if we got COVID, we had somewhere nice to stay. So this was £716 each. Very expensive, but maybe just book a week's accommodation. How much should we be paying for a week? I guess it depends where you are.
Yeah, it depends where you are, what you're doing.
I'd look...
What your plan is.
Yeah. I guess it'll differ.
Where you're flying into, all that kind of stuff.
On the 28th of January 2022, we purchased health insurance. This was to cover us from the date we booked it. Because obviously if we caught COVID before we went, we wanted to be covered. I've just put here, get covered before flight in case anything happens to us between now and the flight. We are covered.
Yes, so we didn't actually purchase health insurance, it's backpacker insurance, which covers multiple things. It's your trip, it's your health, it's your flights, it's...
Some like certain sports?
Yeah, that all comes into health though, health and treatment. Yeah, you've got to be careful when you are travelling with your health insurance because you aren't covered for certain activities. We can't snowboard or like water ski on this insurance because you have to purchase basically an add-on for them to cover what they call extreme sports. It covered all the COVID stuff, so if flights were cancelled because of COVID or if we couldn't get on a flight because of COVID, it sorted that. And you've also, one of your visa conditions of entry to the country is you have to have proof of insurance, health insurance.
So we went with the Tesco Backpacker Gold.
We had insurance.
I forgot we had insurance. We do though. Does that only cover us a year? We'll have to renew that.
We'll have to check we can renew it. And
we paid £610.96, which was £305.48 each for insurance. We should have probably purchased that a bit sooner, because imagine if we couldn't have cancelled our flight, if we couldn't have swapped it.
Yes, probably maybe buy trip insurance before you buy the flight.
So we would recommend getting insurance as maybe one of the first things to do. The total amount, oh, we haven't even gone into COVID tests. If you have to get a COVID test, you need to check the rules of the transfer place.
Yeah, your transiting country. We had some issues.
We had issues.
Dubai had different rules to Australia, and we wouldn't be allowed to board the flight if we didn't meet both countries' conditions. I don't think you'll have this issue.
I don't think this is really a thing anymore. However, if you do, we would just recommend get a PCR from Randox.
Either way, we did the one at the airport, basically. We don't really need to go into the whole story of what happened. We won't go into the
whole story, but there was complications. We would just recommend if you have to get a test, just get a PCR. Don't bother with a rapid antigen, whatever. PCR, everyone accepts.
Yeah.
Off the bat. Yeah. Obviously, you need to check the rules of the stopping country and the end country if you have to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's all we can really say on that. So with that total amount, that does include £130 for PCR tests. So we spent around £2 each before we'd even left the country. That's on accommodation, which obviously you can do cheaper, the actual visa. This doesn't include proof of funds because you don't spend your proof of funds. So I'd say you're looking at about £5 you want to have before you even leave the country.
However, you obviously can do it a lot cheaper. So let's say you are doing something funny to get your proof of funds.
I don't think we should be advising this.
At the very minimum, like £1,000 you could probably do it on. £300 for your visa application, that's unavoidable. Like £700 for your flight.
That's £1,000. What would be the things that pay for?
£300 for insurance, so that's £1,300. And let's say, yeah, you want minimum £2,000 to £3,000, and that's if you're planning on arriving and straight away starting work.
Yeah.
And that's how you're planning on funding your trip. Obviously, if you've got time, I'd recommend staying at home and just save until you've got a decent pot.
And then you can have a nice luxury couple of months, which is what we did.
Yeah, we didn't work for 3.5 months after arriving.
But now we're in the situation where we are now. We can understand that people come with like barely any money, literally just work, save a bit of money whilst you're working, move to the next place, 100% doable.
Keep saving whilst you're working there.
Like, over to you.
First thing you want to do, I think, is apply for your tax file number.
Okay.
Some things that you do in Australia you need a fixed address for. We have a family friend who we spoke to and they were happy for us to use their address for our bank account, our tax file number. These things get sent out to you in the post.
So we have a base address.
So the other thing you can do, if you've got a friend in Australia, I would recommend asking if you can use their address. Over the entire time we've been here, our friends have received 3 pieces of mail from us. It's not like we're bombarding them with mail.
It's just like your bank card, your tax file number, your superannuation, which is your pension.
You'll get a pension thing when you start a job, which you can then claim back when you leave the country.
If you don't have a fixed address, you can speak to the hostel that you're staying in.
Yeah, so some hostels will allow you to use their address as your address for the purpose of applying for these things. So
but we would recommend getting your tax file number, getting a bank account, because then you are able to work.
The other thing that I just did a quick Google on, which you'll be able to do, is apparently some of the bigger banks. So you've got 4 large banks in Australia. You've got Commonwealth Bank of Australia, you've got NAB, you've got Bendigo Bank. I think they're one of the bigger ones. Either way, pretty much everyone seems to go with Commonwealth Bank of Australia or NAB. We've gone with Commonwealth. On a quick Google search, you can, I think, set up an account with them roughly 3 months before you arrive in the country. And then basically you go into the branch that you've set it up with when you arrive in the country with your ID and your welcome letter, and they will have your bank card at the branch for you ready to pick up, so you don't have to get it sent out 3 weeks later to a hostel, so you can arrive and work straight away.
Yeah, that's going to make it easier for you to get into work.
But ideally you want your tax file number before you start work, because if you don't have a tax file number, which is basically, it tells your job and the accountant who's paying you at your job what level of tax you should be paying. So if you don't have that before you start work, you can start work, but you might get taxed a lot higher than you should be, and you won't get that back.
Well, you're not.
No.
So
you could be getting paid at a much.
You
could be getting taxed at a much higher rate and losing money.
Wow. If you're just wanting to do the year, great. You can work wherever you want. Off you go. Have a great year. See you later. If you want to do
But you still need.
You'd still need your tax file and bank account. You have to get a second year working holiday visa. What is that? Subclass. That will be a one. That will
462.
be 462.
I think.
Don't quote us on that. You have to do 3 months of specified work. Now this used to just be farm work.
Yeah, so you could get loads of types of work, but
farming is the easiest
most popular one.
And when we say 3 months, it's 88 days. It is the 3 shortest months of the year.
But Google all of that yourself. It's super complicated to understand.
We haven't even figured it out.
I'm not even going to try and really explain it. Basically, if you're working full time, it's 12 full weeks
of work.
If
you want the easy option, do the farming.
But Google it because it's complicated.
Yeah, anyways, we have gone down the road of hospitality, which you can do in remote, regional, or northern Australia.
Yeah.
Anywhere above.
It's called the Tropic of Capricorn.
Little side note, when you start working, keep your pay slips, because that's what you'll need to apply for your second year visa. You can also look up the postcodes as well of where this kind of work is acceptable, and this is where you can do hospitality work, which will count towards your visa, which is what we are doing. To be able to work with alcohol in a bar, serving alcohol, you have to have an RSA, which is a responsible service of alcohol.
Yeah. So this is a course that you do online and you have to pay for yourself, and you get a certificate at the end, which basically means you're allowed to serve alcohol, or it's not actually just serve alcohol, it's allowed to work in licensed premises.
So
that's all your bars, all your restaurants. So even if you're just planning on getting a waitressing job on the floor of a restaurant, you need an RSA. Cost $17.50, so that's about £9 or so, £9–10. I think you probably need, we think you need to be in Australia to get it, but we're not 100% certain, because I'm pretty sure we filled in our address and I think we supplied our tax file number for it.
We did, I'm pretty sure.
Just Google it, because if you can do it beforehand, you might as well, because it takes...
It's painful, it is
3 to 6 hours or something like that.
And yet be prepared to send in a video of refusing service to people.
Yeah, it's pretty tedious. So you've got to, you basically have to read through loads of information. Then there's like little quizzes at the end of each section. There's like 16 sections. And then at the very end you have to film yourself. You have to watch a video of somebody in a bar, and then you have to film yourself refusing them service to make sure that you're doing it properly and doing it without confrontation and all that kind of stuff. But you need to do it to work in a bar.
So maybe do that as soon as you get here if you're planning on working in a bar.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get a job in a bar, we're pretty sure that legally you have a month after you start a job, as long as you're in the process of getting it, to do all the modules and stuff.
But we would just recommend doing it in a one-hour. Just sit down, have a horrid day and do it. Should we actually show the notepad of everything we needed? You know, our folders that have got everything on it.
Yeah.
Because we needed a lot more, because we came in just as it was opening up after COVID. So I'll show you everything.
It was all a bit complicated, but
the more you prepare, the easier it is. So this is everything we had in our folders to take. I'll read you through it because you won't be able to see. We had the working holiday visa. We print, another thing, print everything out, stick it in a folder, pure dad vibes.
Absolutely.
100%.
Make sure you've got it all on paper copies, because you don't want to be messing around through your emails after a 20-hour flight when you're in an airport on the other side of the world. You want to go straight through, get out of there, get exploring.
Yeah. So, number 1, working holiday visa, subclass 417. Print that out, your visa.
Just go through everything. Skip the COVID stuff for now and then read that at the end, because that's the stuff that they won't need.
Vaccination, check the vaccination history.
Yeah.
Vaccination history, we got this printed out at the doctors, we just asked them. Well,
yes, that's your full vaccination history. You don't necessarily need it, but again, might help at border control.
Yeah.
So that's just, it'll list all your tetanus jabs and all that
Everything
kind of
you've
stuff
had.
on there.
Insurance. Next one, proof of funds. We had this printed. We just printed out our bank
Print a bank statement, take it with you so that you can prove that you've got money.
And then proof of everything else is kind of COVID related, isn't it?
Take
you might
proof
need
of accommodation
that.
anyways.
And then proof of accommodation we took as well, just like a confirmation to say this is where we were staying. They might still ask for that. They might need to know where you're staying.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Booking confirmation for your first hostel you're staying at.
Just so they know where you're going to first in case they ask. And then we had a Victoria border travel permit. This potentially isn't a thing anymore, but just research if there's any requirements into the state that you are travelling into, just in case. We had a COVID pass. I don't think I'll need any more. And a passenger locator form we all know and love. We don't know if they're a thing anymore, so just keep in mind that that could potentially be something you need, maybe not. And then we had our PCR result printed out.
Yeah.
So that is everything we have taken. Just research everything, and what we learned doing it through COVID is things can change, requirements can change, rules can change. It could be the same with the requirements for the actual visa. So just look up the requirements before applying and like know what you're getting yourself into. It's easier than it sounds.
Yeah.
If we've been able to do it.
And also, without all the COVID stuff, it's super
mega easy. Get your visa.
Get your visa, book your flight.
Get insurance.
Yeah.
Get on over here. But I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
I hope that has been helpful. We haven't rambled too much.
If you have any actual questions,
give us a
feel
message
free to
on
get in touch
Instagram.
with either.
If you want any more, if you have any more like more in-depth questions or something that we've missed, please just give us a message on Instagram. I'm emmarosehamilton. What are you?
James Lowis 1996.
So if you want to know anything else, any questions you have, please feel free to give us a message on Instagram. We reply to pretty much everyone. Well, we do reply. I'm not mega famous.
To pretty much everyone.
Reply to every single
Oh my god,
person
I'm always getting good. I don't have any friends. Contact me. Get in touch. You know.
But we hope you have enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you have enjoyed. I post new content every single
Wednesday and Sunday
at
6 PM GMT.
So make sure to come along if you want to see some more, and I'll see you very soon with another video.
Bye.
Goodbye.